Like all mediums, films have always commented on the times and issues of the spaces they were created. Considering the popularity of the medium, it's no surprise to me that historically, single films have become definitive emblems of times and places, showing the powerful endurance and significance of the cinema arts. It's been a long time since I've watched a film that I consider on this level of significance in the cultural canon, and until very recently, I didn't have an answer in my mind towards what was the definitive film of the culture, issues, and energy of our modern times. In other words, I wasn't aware of any film that was at its core the emblem of the 2020 mindset. That is, until I watched one of my new favorite movies, Under the Silver Lake. Split down the middle with fans and critics, scrolling through reviews of the film on something like IMDb will give you a more clear split of 10 out of 10 star reviews and 1 out of 10 star reviews than any other film I can think of. In his follow-up to the breakout independent success of It Follows, director David Robert Mitchell has in Under the Silver Lake made a film that frankly no one has any idea what to do with. It's a comedy, yes, but it's also a horror film, a mystery, a detective story. It's surrealist, fantasy, crime. It's also not defined by really any of the above. It's so undefined by genre that even A24, a distributor I talked about in extent in a past essay, got such cold feet in releasing it that they delayed its premiere 3 times, leading to an extremely unimpressive fizzle of a debut. It's hard to talk about the genius of Under the Silver Lake without talking for hours, as the film covers so much ground. It's about paranoia, celebrity culture, masculinity, femininity, the 1%, fake news, the media, our relationship to worldly possessions, isolation, technology, mental health, misogyny, and the list frankly goes on. But at its core, the central messages of Under the Silver Lake are about free will and autonomy, our ability to control ourselves, our desires, and who we are. The film is heavily allegorical when dealing with our need for purpose and for our life to have a plan. There are several Christ references, including one of the central plot elements of the film, Jesus and the Brides of Dracula. Some spoilers ahead, but also I think knowing some of the messages of the film going into it might yield a better experience. The fact that Jesus in the film and his messages are false and penned by the songwriter play into the overall messages of the film, as much as the culture and music that bring us joy mean nothing to their creator, as demonstrated with the scene involving the songwriter, wherein everything that's ever been important to Sam is revealed to have been penned by one man with no emotional attachment or care. Through the Christ messages in Colts Under the Hollywood Hills, the film goes further to suggest that any messages of guidance and plan are false and meant as a means of control. As much as the film is about the false idols and fucked up nature of celebrity, Under the Silver Lake also comments on the idea that religion is no better, one and the same, and artist worship is the new religion. As our religious identity lapses, we look towards other influences, as this is a primal instinct to seek guidance. The dog killer elements also play into this idea of wanting purpose and control in life as well. After all, as we see in the paint on the coffee shop in the opening of the film, God is dog backwards. Searching to kill all dogs is in a way finding religion, or a guiding light, creating an active autonomous position in understanding where you've come from and where you're going, even though as revealed to Sam later in the film, this autonomy too is false. The idea that, as I previously discussed in an essay, we are the influence we see, is debated upon extensively in the film. Mitchell also geniusly uses the visual style and tone of the film to comment on this, creating a pastiche effect visually of old Hollywood, Hitchcock, Lynch, and other influences adapted into the paranoia of the 21st century. Essentially, Under the Silver Lake is a noir on paper, with the protagonist Sam being a traditional noir protagonist. He investigates and is this womanizing, substance-using slacker, but in Under the Silver Lake, these attributes aren't romanticized in the slightest, and comment on the fact that old Hollywood tropes in a real-life setting would be heavily problematic, and yet we worship them anyways. The original dog killer found in a Silver Lake basement film reel in the film was an old Hollywood actor wanting to kill all dogs because he blamed a wonder dog for his own life not going anywhere. Sam also talks about that he feels he's missed out on the life he wanted, that he's living the wrong life, and his views on life, and especially on women, reflect the idea that there are other factors he blames for him not being able to be who he wants to be. This has, among other strong indications, led many to believe that Sam himself is the dog killer. However, if he is, he's clearly not in control of this subconscious masculine desire he has, which manifests in violent bursts throughout the film, and so not knowing to me is sort of the point. This connection between dogs being murdered and the male gaze and abuse of young women searching for stardom is apparent in the film, especially through the lens of Sam, as this, after all, is why he hears dog barking coming out of women on multiple occasions, creating a direct correlation. Sam's masculine energy and his need to have sex and be obsessed with sex constantly get in the way of him having any other ambition. As demonstrated in the film, it's these desires for an unattainable program life that makes Sam feel like he's living someone else's. Near the end of the film, Sam's girlfriend, his overall drive over the course of his arc, has been featured in a billboard, which is now covered up with a mural that says hamburgers are love. This fully realizes the message that even our autonomous desires are the same as the ones that are dictated by others behind closed doors. The broader and scarier question is not whether or not we have autonomy, but whether or not we even want it. Whether we want to be submissive in our own destiny and whether we want control, or if even that is a false and imposed ideal. After questioning his entire world and everything around him, including his paranoia and views on the Hollywood lifestyle, Sam's growth as a character is fully realized when he learns to stop aiming for a specific unattainable life, as represented by the elusive Riley Keough, as this life has been programmed and isn't worthwhile anyways. He finally, by the end of the film, realizes, considering everything he thought he valued and was looking for in his daily waking life were fake, that his thoughts on the homeless have been all wrong. Earlier, he says they're jealous, they can't participate, but at the end of the film, he realizes not participating and looking for a normal life is the only way to find true autonomy. To not play the game is the only way to win. Hence, at the end of the film, after becoming homeless, he's finally happy. This is just one view of many on the core messages of the film, and this is just the start of a lot of the subtext in nearly every shot. However, what I will say is that as much as characters in the film have become overly obsessed with the clues and conspiracies of Silver Lake are portrayed as crazy, Mitchell also points out how crazy taking everything at face value and living a life a certain way because it's expected of you is. The irony of the release of Under the Silver Lake is that in order to really get anything out of the movie, further research, questioning, and searches for meaning are required. However, once you take the time and search for meaning, take action to get something out of the message of the movie, you come to realize the act of doing so was the point. If you're passive and don't wake up, Under the Silver Lake won't implant its message in your head. Your own autonomy is key to your own enjoyment of the movie, as it is also key to the subtext and messages of the film. Frankly, I think this is a genius way of conveying the film's message, and the ideas presented in this film are endlessly up for debate. I recommend everyone watch it, as nearly everything it discusses I believe are pertinent and substantial issues in the now, for everyone living in 2020. Watch the movie, and if you're confused afterwards, don't immediately dismiss the film as empty. Remind yourself that the real answers hiding under the Silver Lake are the questions you asked looking for them.